Story 1. My girlfriend and I had planned a holiday in Thailand, seeking adventure and relaxation in equal parts. It was supposed to be a dream vacation, one to remember for a lifetime. We were excited to explore the vibrant culture, indulge in mouth-watering Thai cuisine, and soak up the tropical sun. But what was meant to be a blissful getaway turned into a nightmare I wouldn't wish upon anyone. We had always preferred the off-the-beaten-path experiences over crowded tourist destinations. So, when we stumbled upon a remote Airbnb hidden in the lush jungles of Thailand, we knew we had found our perfect escape. The listing promised seclusion, a secret paradise away from the hustle and bustle, and it was exactly what we were looking for. Our hosts, Marshall and Penny, seemed lovely from our initial interactions. They assured us that their remote property would provide the tranquility we craved. A small wooden cottage, nestled deep within the dense jungle, miles away from civilization, was what they offered. A rustic paradise. The photographs looked enchanting, showcasing the quaint stone cottage surrounded by vibrant greenery and the shimmering waters of a hidden lake nearby. The journey to our remote retreat was a long one. We navigated through winding dirt roads, our driver assuring us that this was the best-kept secret in all of Thailand. We left the bustling cities behind, driving further and further into the heart of the jungle. As we approached our destination, we couldn't help but marvel at the untouched beauty of the countryside. It was as if time had stood still here, the serenity of the location slowly washing away the stress of our everyday lives. We finally arrived at our Airbnb and were greeted by Marshall and Penny, a warm and friendly couple who seemed genuinely delighted to have us as their guests. They handed us the keys and gave us a brief tour of the cottage, making sure we had everything we needed for our stay. The quaint stone cottage exceeded our expectations. It was cozy and well-appointed, with all the essentials for a comfortable stay. We settled in quickly, excited to explore the surroundings and make the most of our secluded paradise. The first few days were idyllic. We wandered through the jungle, swam in the crystal-clear waters of the lake, and savored delicious homemade meals prepared by Penny. Everything felt perfect, just as we had hoped for. But then, on the third day, while my girlfriend was dusting off a shelf in the bedroom, she froze. "Hey, come here quick," she called out, her voice tinged with unease. I rushed over, my curiosity piqued. And that's when I saw it, a small black object hidden between some books. I picked it up and examined it closely. It was a camera, small and sophisticated, looking entirely out of place. A wave of discomfort washed over us as we realized that hidden cameras were scattered throughout the cottage. There was another one in the potted plant in the living room, one in the bathroom disguised as a nozzle inside an air freshener, and yet another in the kitchen camouflaged among the appliances. The feeling of violation was unbearable. We felt as though our privacy had been invaded in the most intimate ways. Every moment we had spent in that cottage, from the conversations to the quiet moments of relaxation, had been captured by those hidden lenses. We decided to confront Marshall and Penny, our hearts racing with anger and anxiety. We confronted them about the hidden cameras, demanding an explanation for this blatant invasion of our privacy, but their reaction sent shivers down our spines. Marshall looked genuinely surprised, while Penny seemed to be on the verge of tears. They insisted that they had no knowledge of the cameras and that our safety and privacy were their utmost concern. They seemed just as horrified as we were. As the shock began to wear off, we all realized that something sinister was unfolding. If Marshall and Penny were not responsible for the hidden cameras, then who was? Our hosts claimed that they had been renting out this cottage through Airbnb for years and had never encountered such a situation before. Fear and confusion gnawed at us as we contemplated the mysterious presence of these hidden cameras. We decided to take matters into our own hands and report this horrifying violation of our privacy to Airbnb. After reaching out to Airbnb, we were informed that the listing for the cottage had been taken down immediately. They promised a thorough investigation into the matter, assuring us that our safety and privacy were their top priorities. Days turned into weeks, and we had returned to our home city, but the unsettling feeling continued to linger. The update from the local police only deepened our unease. They had visited the property and found it empty, just as we had described. However, they discovered that Marshall and Penny were not the actual owners. The real owners of the property had been traveling abroad for months, and their identities had been stolen. The cottage had been listed on Airbnb without their knowledge or consent. The unsettling part was that despite their investigation, they never found any trace of Marshall and Penny, the names used by the imposters. Our dream vacation had turned into a nightmare, and we were left with countless questions and a lingering sense of unease. Who were the imposters, and what were their intentions? The unknown fate of Marshall and Penny added to the mystery surrounding this Airbnb nightmare. After this shocking revelation, I want to leave a bad review for the Airbnb, to warn everyone else. Our story serves as a stark reminder that even the most idyllic settings can hide sinister secrets, and that one should always be cautious when booking accommodations, even through reputable platforms like Airbnb. Story 2. Let's be creative, they said. Little did we know that those words would lead us down a path of mystery and terror that we'd never forget. It all began when my friends and I decided to take a break from our hectic lives and book a remote forest cabin through Airbnb. We were in desperate need of some relaxation and escape from the chaos of the city. Our search led us to a listing that seemed perfect, almost too good to be true. The secluded house was nestled in the heart of the wilderness, surrounded by a vast landscape of rolling hills and picturesque views that stretched as far as the eye could see. The photos showed an antique wonderland with vintage furniture, luxurious bedrooms, and intricate details that oozed charm. We were eager to book this beautiful, isolated house, and we reached out to the host, Christopher, with one small request: to have a hot tub delivered for the weekend. It was a simple request, or so we thought, but Christopher declined, citing that the property sat on church grounds and it would be inappropriate. We accepted his decision and eagerly anticipated our getaway. The day finally came when we pulled up to the house, and it was even more breathtaking than the photos had led us to believe. The interior matched the grandeur of the exterior, with antique chandeliers, original artworks, and intricately carved furniture. The luxurious bedrooms were each themed differently, complete with velvet curtains, four-poster beds, and vintage dressers that made us feel like we'd stepped back in time. However, our excitement was soon tainted by the discovery of peculiar handwritten notes placed around the house. One, found in the tea room, read, "A grave mistake has been made placing the sofa in this room." Another, ominously written on a bathroom mirror, warned, "Reflect on your actions. Water remembers." The kitchen note was the most unsettling, advising, "Food prepared here feeds more than the body." We couldn't help but wonder about the owner's bizarre sense of humor, and we tried to brush off the eerie notes as part of the property's charm. As evening fell, the last of our group arrived, and we gathered in the kitchen for welcome drinks, toasting with Prosecco. During the toasts, someone noticed an extension cord running from an outlet in the kitchen, going out through an open window. Intrigued, we decided to follow the cord, thinking it might lead us to an interesting discovery. To our surprise, it led us to a rusty, ancient-looking caravan parked behind the property. Peering through its windows revealed a disturbing sight. The inside was cluttered with splayed-out taxidermied animals and sharp, rusty tools scattered about. Before we could process what we were seeing, an old man suddenly appeared, causing us all to jump. He was dressed bizarrely formal, wearing a waistcoat, cravat, and an old-fashioned pocket watch. It was Christopher, the host, who had declined our hot tub request. With an unsettling calmness, Christopher said he'd be spending the night in the caravan. "Let's pretend I'm not here," he added, his demeanor unnerving us. We engaged in small talk for a while, feeling uneasy in his presence, and eventually we went back inside the house. Later, as the party went up a few notches, driven by a blend of curiosity and alcohol-induced courage, we ventured deeper into the house. We found a locked door, but it was old, and the lock was easily manipulated. Inside was another unsettling discovery, a taxidermy room unlike any we had ever seen. Animals were stitched into bizarre, otherworldly configurations. A mouse with the beak of a crow, a deer with multiple heads, each more disturbing than the last. A large crucifix also sat on the wall. It was a room of grotesque creations that sent shivers down our spines. Terrified, we retreated to the living room, where we laughed a little too loudly and hugged a little too tightly, as if trying to dispel the strange energy surrounding us. We all got blind drunk, and while most of the party made it to their beds, I experienced a crazily intense bout of room spin, passing out on the living room sofa. My friends couldn't wake me, so I spent the next few hours drooling on the sofa we weren't supposed to be on. Later that night, I was jolted awake by footsteps. Then came a metallic scraping sound that made my heart pound. I listened as the living room door handle slowly turned. It was Christopher. Panicked, I quickly closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. He walked over and stood over me, completely motionless. Time passed, and all I could do was listen to his weird, staggered breaths expelling horribly from his mouth. I silently prayed he would leave me alone. Finally, he turned to leave the room. As he left, I could just make out him sharpening a scalpel on a stone block. The sound was chilling, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. I heard his footsteps fade away, and the crunch of gravel told me he had returned to his caravan. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I darted out of the room and woke up my friends, spilling out the events in frantic, hushed tones. My best friend, without a second thought, offered to drive me home, and I eagerly agreed. As we navigated the winding roads, my thoughts were a maelstrom of confusion and relief. I knew we had dodged something potentially very dark. We never returned to that house, and we never got answers to the mysteries that shrouded it. The experience was a horrifying reminder that even the most luxurious and inviting places can hide unspeakable secrets. The disappearing host, Christopher, and his bizarre formality would forever be etched in our memories. To this day, we wonder what sinister purpose lay behind the taxidermy room and the unsettling notes scattered throughout the house. And as for Christopher, wherever he is now, we can only hope that his scalpel remains dull and unused.